Want to welcome in Emmy Award-winning coordinator producer, formerly of ESPN, and just an absolute rock star of a global sports producer, and my former professor at Syracuse University, Dennis Deninger, who has a book out, The Football Game That Changed America: How the NFL Created a National Holiday. We're going to talk about Super Bowl impact, what it is now compared to what it used to be, and the international play of the NFL. Dennis, thanks for joining me.
It's great to be here. It's great to see you again, Nick. You haven't aged
Absolutely.
very much at all, and I might have aged a bit, but
I don't
that
know.
happens.
I thought you had some salt and pepper in that beard, and I don't even see it anymore. So you might be Benjamin Buttoned on me. Dennis, let's start with, I'm here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we dream of getting a Super Bowl, and our team also plays internationally. So what is kind of like a local North Carolina tie to all this that we're talking about today?
What's happening in North Carolina right now is going to play a major role in the expansion of the NFL globally. And that's because in June, this super factory was completed in Greensboro, at the Greensboro airport. And that is where Boom Supersonic is going to be producing these supersonic planes that will cut flying time from the States to London, from here to anywhere, in half. So right now, it takes you about a little over 8 hours to get from Charlotte to London on one of these Boom Overture jets, which will start flying by the end of this decade. It'll be 4 hours. So it's cutting flying times in half. And when you think about it, then flying from New York to London, you could have a team in the AFC East, say, rivals of the New York Jets and the Miami Dolphins. Why those are important in a minute here. Rivals in the AFC East that are in London, and you could get back and forth 3.5 hours each way. So it makes this much more a reasonable possibility to have teams based overseas.
Yeah, so that's great. I did not think that's where you're going with that. That's fantastic because you are so good at logistics of, that was your job. I mean, coordinating producer for sporting events at ESPN and broadcasts all over the world. So, I mean, logistically, you're saying it's going to be easier for the NFL to have teams in Europe. Where might those teams be? Where might they come from? I'm glad that the planes are being built in North Carolina, but I don't want the Carolina Panthers to be moved overseas. I wouldn't think that would happen.
I see, and in my book, the last chapter in this book is me looking forward some bold predictions for what Super Bowl 100 in the year 2066 might look like. And on the way to that, we're going to have international play. Just in here in October, coming up October 6th, there's the first of the International Series games in London again, which started in 2007. By the end of the season, they will have played 36 games in London, and every one of them has been a sellout. So they have the league has what they call a logical procedure in place for the establishment of a team in London. And part of that has got to include getting back and forth. Those overture jets will fly about 80 people each way. So you've got a team, you've got the coaches. Maybe they need another flight with the media and other folks needed for the team. But you can get back and forth so easily. So they're gonna, and the one stadium where the NFL has got the place to play, and that's where they're going to play on October 6th, is Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Yep. This stadium was opened in 2019, and it is built to NFL specifications. You would have to make no changes to play NFL games there on a regular basis. So I think it's going to go from a novelty to, once or twice a year to become a regular thing. And the reason I mentioned the Dolphins and the Jets is that the NFL also has this global markets program in which they've assigned 25 different teams in the U.S. markets overseas to start developing a fan base, to start having some commercial ventures with those different cities to kind of warm people up to NFL football, which they'd love to see grow to what soccer is now, a worldwide sport. Well, the two teams that have the United Kingdom in this global markets program are the Dolphins and the Jets, and they're both in the AFC East. So I would see a new team, an expansion team, not a move. I think you want to have British ownership. You don't want to just transplant a team from the U.S. I think all of those things are possible probably within the next 5 to 10 years.
Wow. And Panthers are partnered. Their market is Germany, and they're going to play there this year. Okay, this book is all about this. Is really about the Super Bowl, an international Super Bowl. Will the NFL go that far, and will that be a tough sell to fans in the United States? Of like, hey, we're okay playing a regular season game in Europe, but the Super Bowl. Do you think that could happen?
I really think that once there is a team overseas, once there's a team based in London, and that's where they'll start, then there's a genuine possibility that 5 years or so after that, you could have the first international Super Bowl. And the NFL would make it such a huge, spectacular production that it would draw interest and engage fans from all around the world. You would probably have a few congressmen who'd be wanting to call the commissioner in front of their committees to say, okay, how come, our city, like Charlotte, has never hosted a Super Bowl, and now you're holding one in England, for goodness sake. But I think that what you'd see is there would be an expansion fee paid by a new team. And the last expansion team, the Houston Texans, I mean, that was close to $1 billion, and it was over $600 million entrance fee. Well, I think you'd see the entrance fee divided up among those cities that haven't hosted Super Bowls. So, okay, we don't have a Super Bowl yet, but we're going to benefit from this international Super Bowl and also benefit from the global exposure.
The Super Bowl has certainly changed so much since Super Bowl one, but it's changed from a broadcast perspective. I mean, I think you've probably noticed big changes in the last 10 years. So what are some of the biggest changes that have been made recently to a Super Bowl broadcast, which is so big and grand anyway? And, what and we'll get to the kind of the Super Bowl 100 forecast in a bit, but maybe in the next 10 years, where do you think, what kind of new things do you think we'll see?
Well, it's certainly the way in which people receive and choose to receive their sports has changed dramatically. And the NFL has embraced this there are multiple ways to stream. ESPN and ABC will do their first Super Bowl together in 2026. And I expect it to be the multicast of all multicasts. You'll have a Peyton and Eli broadcast of the Super Bowl. And you could very well have just the NFL Films audio broadcast where it's kind of the off-color language that you're going to hear on the sidelines, and it all comes to you live. I think that would be a pretty popular channel. So I expect that there will be now that we can deliver a Super Bowl in more than just one channel, you'll see more and more varied channels. And I also expect to see that over the last 20 years, the people producing the Super Bowl, and I covered my first Super Bowl in 2006, which was Super Bowl 40. What you see is a huge investment in entertainment. There's a greater entertainment focus for the Super Bowl, in that at least half of the viewers do not watch regular season NFL games. So they see this as an entertainment spectacular. And that is where I expect to see more and more growth in a variety of different ways that I detail in my forecast in the book.
The football game that changed America, how the NFL created a national holiday, written by Dennis Deninger. Chris Fowler wrote the foreword of this book. So you've already got somebody big right off the top that we know and we see and knows a lot about football and broadcasting. Who else did you talk to? Like, I'm sure you talked to a lot of folks, but who are some of the most interesting people you talked to that you really gleaned a lot from for this book?
I'll tell you what was remarkable is that the man who hired me at ESPN way back in the early days of SportsCenter, I was the first coordinating producer of SportsCenter before going to work on live events around the world. And his name is Bill Fitts, Fitts. And he was the executive producer for CBS Sports for Super Bowl 1, then 2, 4, 6, and 8. And I sat down with Bill many years ago and just started asking him to recount his stories of the Super Bowl 1. And it was fascinating. And there are some stories in this book that haven't been written anywhere before because of that kind of thing. And I also talked to Jerry Eisenberg, who covered the first 51 Super Bowls as a member of the media. And Miami was the last Super Bowl that he covered. So, but he has seen all of it and seen the huge changes from when the commissioners state of the NFL was a few guys in a room chatting with the commissioner to what it's grown to now, a national telecast. So, and there's some really good inside stories there about players, and it really is dramatically changed. And the media is now 6,000 media who are credentialed to cover the Super Bowl. There aren't 6,000 media assigned to either of the political conventions, and those are, choosing the candidates for president, for goodness sake. So we can see where, but, those conventions have not turned into national holidays, whereby the Super Bowl has. And it's one of the rare things in American life that brings people together, all ages, red, blue, all, denominations and lots of different origins. People come together for the Super Bowl. And that's one of the great things about this sport, and how, when I say how the NFL created a national holiday, it's a secular holiday. It's not an official holiday, but it's certainly right up there. More food is consumed on Super Bowl Sunday than on any other holiday other than Thanksgiving. So it's right up there.
So you're looking at all these past Super Bowls, and in college basketball, everybody points to the 1979 NCAA tournament as this is what made March Madness the spectacle it is today. Bird, Magic, television. Was there one Super Bowl that you studied that you thought, this is kind of what put us on the path to where we are now?
There are few of these milestones, Nick, that are really important. And the first one was Super Bowl III, and Joe Namath and the New York Jets as 18-point underdogs, winning and beating the NFC team. Back then was the NFL team, and they beat the Colts. And that was a surprise because the Packers from the NFL had won the first two games handily. So people were of the opinion that, well, okay, we're watching a major league team versus a minor league team. And if that's the way it's going to be, and in fact, the commissioner, the Friday before Super Bowl III, said that there would be consideration of a changing in the playoff structure in the Super Bowl that would allow two NFL teams to play each other and shut out the AFL from that mix. Well, when Namath won that, it, for Super Bowl IV, immediately increased the ratings. It increased the rates for commercials by 40%. And Super Bowl IV in New Orleans, Jerry Eisenberg says, this is the one where you started to see it become a corporate event, not just local fans, but people flying in as a destination event. Another one that was really important is 1978, and that was the first night game. The Super Bowl had always been a Sunday afternoon game, like NFL football had always been Sunday afternoons. ABC's Monday Night Football debuted in 1970 and started showing that you could draw a big audience in the evenings. So the Superdome in New Orleans, 1978, first Super Bowl at night, first Super Bowl indoors, and the ratings jumped tremendously because it was, all right, people are not doing things during the day. They're focused on the television in the evening.
You mentioned commercials. Commercials were such an iconic part of Super Bowl Sunday, and they still are. And this is just anecdotal. It just feels like there's so many more opportunities in sports for these big, fun campaigns to be rolled out. Has that Super Bowl Sunday commercial kind of veneer worn off a bit, or is it still kind of the place to go when you're trying to advertise?
It's the place to go if you want to launch a new product, if you want to begin public awareness for a movie that's going to come out late in the spring or the summer. If you're going to launch a new campaign, maybe you still have it, you have the same product, but you're launching a new campaign. You will reach the broadest possible audience. This year, over 200 million people sampled at least a portion of the Super Bowl, and close to 130 million people were watching at any 1 minute. And that's how they gauge the ratings minute by minute, so that if you or I are advertising, we know that in that 1 minute we're advertising, this is the average number of people that we'll reach. So it is still, and a lot of people, close to 20% of people watching the Super Bowl, say that they tune in for the commercials. Yeah. So if you're an advertiser, this is the place you want to be. And also for advertisers, it sets you apart from your competitors. You may not be number one in your field, but if you're the one advertising in the Super Bowl and your competitors aren't, you suddenly have this huge esteem in the eyes of the public. And that's important.
Any idea what a 30-second spot in Super Bowl 59 is going to cost?
Well, it's over 7 million. And the interesting thing is it's the asking price is going to be over 7 million, maybe 7.5 million, but that's for one commercial purchased. If you buy 2 or 3 that you want to have, all right, we're going to have a commercial in the first quarter, second quarter, and after halftime, then you get a break because you got a volume discount. Mm-hmm. Also, the prices vary depending on where in the commercial pod they go. The first commercial and the last commercial in the pod go for higher prices. The ones in the middle go for a little lower. So I'd say it's rare for any advertiser to be paying the same rate as another advertiser for the same 30 seconds in a different spot in the game.
The football game that changed America, how the NFL created a national holiday. Dennis, when I pick this book up, I'm going to have a hard time not going to your projection for Super Bowl 100. What kinds of predictions can we look forward to when we read that portion of your book as you conclude it?
We take a look at the way that the media will cover it. And when you think about the technological advances that will come in the next 41 years ago, back in history, that's when the telestrator debuted. And think of all of the different technological advances we have since the telestrator. So I've got great faith in those technological minds who are building great jets in North Carolina, and also who are coming up with new ideas. And it's the creative minds of the producers as to how they'll use it. I also see more and more Super Bowl related programming. And as you go to more of a global audience, you can engage live via all sorts of communications devices and engage an audience all around the world for certain fan interaction. And all of these things, I spin off a few ideas as to what that fan interaction could look like. And I definitely go in there as there definitely will be football played. I mean, some people talk about, all right, are there going to be fewer people playing football? I'm sure that your high school and my high school never had a mixed martial arts team, right? It
Right.
hasn't hurt UFC.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and a number of high schools have dropped football in the 11-man size, but there are actually more kids playing football because a number of high schools have gone to 8-man or 9-man. Well, we've got fewer kids playing it, but we can field a team. So it definitely will be football. It'll be technologically advanced. We'll hear and see so many things that we haven't been able to hear before. And I've got a clever idea in there as to how I think that the NFL will make money, and they can sell the same seat in the Super Bowl stadium more than once. I'll leave it there.
I can't wait to see that. The football game that changed America, how the NFL created a national holiday, written by Dennis Deninger. Best way to get the book. I'm going to go online right now and do it. I know it's on Amazon. Where else can we find it?
Amazon and barnesandnoble.com. It'll start finding its way into bookstores, but Amazon has got some pretty good offers on it right now. And all you need to do is just Google, take a look on Amazon for either Deninger, Deninger, or the football game that changed me. If you type in the football game, it comes right up.
Awesome. Very nice. Dennis Deninger, thank you for joining us.
Nick, it's been great to join you, and good luck. You got to get up there and see those jets being put together.
Oh, I think we will now for sure.